Hmm. Interesting. I want to make sure that YouTube is working correctly, but I'm not sure if it is, but that's okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Riley, and this is the sixth episode of The State of People. We are here this week, this month, to talk a lot about something that I'm very passionate about, which is questing in the most purest sense. Not necessarily the sense that we are used to here in Web3, and also events. Um, I don't get a lot of chances to attend many Web3 events, but for the ones that I do, I have a lot of experience with sort of absorbing that particular experience. Um, but the way that Farcaster has cultivated events and on an international scale, mind you, is very admirable. And I'm super excited to talk with a few people from the International Farcaster Fridays community. But first, we're going to talk to Bunny, who is the CEO of Search on Dora, which is an on-chain explorer, which is so cutely named. I'm very happy to talk to Bunny today about that, about Quest, about how we maneuver through questing, whether that is the typical sort of layer 3 collecting only questing or something a little bit more intricate. First, I want to talk about this thing I've been thinking about all month long, all September, which is how questing interacts with new experiences and a new experience economy. How we are bringing people together to not only make new types of friendships, but explore how we go on new journeys together, whether that is online or in person. And the in-person aspect is most interesting to me, I believe, because of the way the on-chain landscape is sort of evolving and how emerging tech, like what was announced yesterday at MetaConnect, the Orion AR glasses, how that interacts with or could interact with sort of these on-chain quests or just simply online quests, which is a little bit different, sort of what we have been used to with gaming, right? I think a lot of us spend a lot of time online, but we don't spend a lot of time online building real friendships on a journey with each other together. And in tandem with a sort of mission, a end goal, we just sort of hang out group chats or discords or telegram chats and talk to each other, but that's sort of flat, really. And this morning, as I do almost every day, watched a video essay on, this time it was on friendship and how maybe friendship is dead, and especially the transactional relationship of friendship. And I think that is speaking a lot to how we treat friendships and each other on chain and at events when we go to events in person. So that's another reason why I'm really excited about this chat today. Um, Going back to the talk about friendships, I honestly, I can't talk too much about how my personal relationship with friendships is because I don't have a lot of friends that I hang out with in person. They're all online. So that's that's neither here nor there. It's fine, but the fact is that when we create environments where all of our interactions with other people, all of our relationships to other people are transactional, meaning looking at a blockchain, collecting their artwork, it seems supportive, but underneath it all, it is very much, oh, I'm going to give you $2 here, and then you're going to collect my artwork to give me $2. And where does it all end up, right? What are we all learning from this experience? I don't know. I don't know the answers. I think that we should just be talking about this fact more often. And I don't think anyone's supposed to have all the answers. I think it was just supposed to be conversation, which is another reason why I wanted to think about this very deeply this month. And another reason why this community exists and why you're watching this right now is because we created the State of People to explore and think about together these aspects of community marketing and how we identify ourselves in the world, whether that be online or in person. So I have a deep relationship with questing due to my experience with video games. I have always been a gamer just because of the fact that games are fun, whether that is a sport or whether that is a FPS, shooter game, or a D&D game. These things are inherently fun. They create opportunities for fun to happen, whether that is a Monopoly game or a card game or a game where you're collecting, whatever it may be. But quests have elements to them that must be met for it to be a full quest. And in Web3, that is simply not happening anywhere that is relevant, at least. And so not only do we need to find those places where it is happening and highlight that and study that, but we need to take a deeper look at how we are being creative with each other and how we take each other on that journey of exploring, collecting, leveling up, and then completing, finishing a boss level, right? Getting to the end of something and then moving on to something else and then learning more and then experiencing more. And the whole entire way, it is about fun. And so when I wrote this piece on questing into the new experience economy, I wanted to highlight how we have fun, how we create fun environments, and then sort of give you a rubric for how to apply that to the on-chain world, and then sort of integrate that into whenever you host an event, whenever you design an event, when you're sitting down with your teammates and saying, how are we going to do this? Number one, it can't be just one person designing it typically, because you're only one person with only or one set of ideas. You need to be in a questing party, right? This is what we learn when we play D&D, when we play WoW, when we play RPGs. There's raid bosses, raid battles. There's elements to a party that you need to have: a healer, a support, a DPS, a tank. These things are necessary for going on a quest. And one of the most amazing quests that I've seen happen in Web3 was extremely simple, right? The scavenger hunt. A scavenger hunt is a great example of a non-violent quest pattern where you are getting together. Sometimes you're getting together in a group of people to find things, to collect things, and then you have an end goal where you get rewarded. You exchange those for something new, and you're getting around places, you're finding things around places in real life, real physical places where you're going to run into other people to talk to and meet and become friends, and then they join your party and then you level up. It's this idea of, okay, this thing is growing, we're learning, we are moving forward. But if you're only focusing on collecting, which is what layer 3 is, and what other on-chain questing things is, it's just collecting. If that's all you're doing, you are learning nothing, you are gaining nothing, you are doing nothing but making someone else money. And that is transactional. That is a transactional relationship to a brand, and we do not want that. That is not healthy for a culture. That's not healthy for a brand, and you are only hurting yourself. So today, thank you for letting me sort of rant there about questing, but this is something that I think a lot of people could be passionate about if they knew more about, right? So we will go ahead and bring up Bunny, who I've heard quite a bit about, but I haven't met yet. So I'm really excited to chat. And then in the second hour, the second half of our show, we're going to talk to a few people around the world about how they bring people together in their own cities to talk about Farcaster, to talk about Web3, and talk about whatever. Hopefully they're not just talking about the internet, because my God, that would be so just like not the best. We need to be talking about more than just like being online all the time, even though I love the internet. But anyway, let's see if we can get this going. Hello, Bunny.
Hello. Can you hear me all good?
I can. This is very
All,
big. It's not, I'm not used to having it so big, but I think this
all good,
works.
all good. Awesome. Yeah, no, well, a pleasure to meet finally also in online person, face to face, instead of anime profile pics and drawings on the internet.
Yeah, it's really good to meet you.
Yeah.
So I posted this thing and you reached out and said that you were really excited about questing.
Yes, I'm very, and I do appreciate the rant and also the slight detour on the classifications of what different personas can exist within certain quests. I think that there is something really valuable about even this framework of there's different types of questing, right? Like there is this notion that we all like to explore, we all like to learn new things, we all like to have new experiences, and there is very much an experience economy that has developed over the years, especially with the rise of the internet and I guess just mass proliferation of any good and service being available at the top of our fingers. Um, I think but there is there has to be some structure to how or why we quest on these things, right? I can elaborate a little bit more on why I reached out, but before that, if you have any questions as well, more than happy to.
Yeah, well, that was a great intro, but I would love for you to tell us a little bit more about yourself first, to let people
Sure.
know about who you are and what Dora is.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is, I guess, Mauricio, but people know me as Bunny. I've just been a little bit more public lately because, if you have a company, maybe someone has to be the face of it, right? And sometimes it's easier to use a product if you can put a face to the name, right? Uh, so the co-founder, CEO of Dora. Dora is a multi-chain search engine and block explorer. Our primary offering to the chains that we work with is that we give them a really easy to read, human readable block explorer, as well as then integrating it into a unified search engine, which resolves, let's say, if you search up an address, every single token, NFT, the most recent transactions as well from every single EVM-based chain out there, and we're now expanding into a few more. Let's say like we're funding to the movement ecosystem, move face chains. More recently, actually, and it's on the topic of the quest as well. We're creating a trends product specifically for the Solana ecosystem that then we will be bringing into the entire AVM ecosystem. Go ahead. Yeah.
So why would someone want to use a block explorer?
So it's a really good question because it's gotten we've seen a lot of explorers come and go. I think we've seen about 8 block explorer companies go out of business these past 2 years. Um, I think sincerely that read-only block explorers are not something that people really want to should use. They're very developer focused. They're very tech heavy. It's not something that you will show to, let's say, our parents if they just want to use crypto, right? We believe though that in the future, as more on-chain goods and services are being provided through crypto railways, we will need a way to contextualize all these goods and services and allow for the procurement of them through a single interface. It doesn't matter if the on-chain good lives on Base or if it lives on Optimism, Polygon, whatever. We should have one single interface to procure them all. In the exact same way that, let's say, a search engine like Google unified online, we need a product to unify on-chain.
I totally
Yeah.
get that.
We go through the consumer and action route of the Explorer instead of the developer focus side.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So aren't most block explorers like really boring though?
I wouldn't say boring. They are developer focused and analytics focused. I will segment block explorers into 3 major categories. One is the analytics based block explorers, which are like Arkham, Chainalysis, TRM labs, any of those like looting focused block explorers. They have product market fit. They're amazing products. It's not something I personally want to build. They like have a background on statistics and analytics and whatnot. I think that we have enough of that in crypto. Then the second segment will be developer focused explorers, Blockscout, Etherscan, Ratscan. They do amazing work on this. Now, more recently, we've started working a little bit more on the developer focused explorer, just because we have some contracts with some chains which they need some infrastructure actually, and we know the chains really well, so we might as well build it. However, what we found is that most of the things that people need out of a developer block explorer is just really APIs. And I think that there's way better teams for APIs, or even if you need more structured on-chain data, maybe an index data provider like Goldsky could be good. And then on the consumer side, that is the big unanswered question of, will there be a block explorer that actually captures the mind share and serves as a gateway into all of these new rollups that are showing up? I think that we've been around for now 2.5 years. We're getting more traction. People are finally starting to find out about us. We came out of stealth, and yeah, I think we're getting there.
Well, I've used Dora a few times, but it's been a while. I think
Yeah.
when when you are clicking on something like a button that says go to this NFTs Explorer or whatever, or you go to this transaction explorer, and I usually go to like Basescan or Etherscan, right?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, but so how do you get people to move to Dora?
So I think this is where we actually switch the user flow, switch it up on its head. Right now, the way people relate to their on-chain activity is still through the notion of their wallets. So usually when people come to Dora, they are not looking up for a transaction after they interact with a program. They assume that their program interaction already happened, and then they will go to Dora to check their accounts page as opposed to the latest transaction. Latest transaction is actually the page category at Dora, which is the least visited. The most visited, the 2 most visited categories on Dora are the network page of every single chain, just because people like to, I guess, switch to a network to make sure that there's searching within the right network, even though our search bar is omni-chain. Like you can search anything, any hash, we know exactly which chain it belongs to. There's very rare like hash collision or anything like that, and if there is, we give you both results. But it's just a habit that people have, right? And then the second most visited category is the accounts page. People still very much relate to everything that they do on chain through their wallets, which is something that I didn't expect to happen for such a long time. But hey, we're an industry that is constantly evolving, right? So maybe we will see this user flow change, and that is the reason why I guess we started looking into, okay, people are looking at their wallets on Dora for some reason. We can maybe add actions on Dora. We can let people swap and bridge and crushing swap into every single new chain that we integrate with now. And then on top of that, now we're looking into Quest quite heavily.
Okay, okay. Well, we'll get to Quest
Yeah.
on Dora in a minute, but
Okay.
first I want to know
Mhm.
your experience with questing, whether that is, you know, throughout your life, not necessarily on chain. I want to know your experience with like gaming or any other type of questing. What's that been like for you?
I used to game really heavily in high school. I used to go to Dota, like some like online Dota tournaments back when I lived in Peru. It was the Peruvian community due to Dota is also quite like known. But I more so played really like I guess multiplayer games, multi cooperative MMORPGs. I play RuneScape. Actually, RuneScape is how I got into crypto, and I know it's a bit of a meme to say that within crypto, but I truly was trying to buy like a RuneScape like gold membership, but my parents wouldn't give me their credit cards. They didn't trust the internet back then. It was like 2012. So then I told my friend about it, and he was like, "Oh, just mine Bitcoin." And I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And then I started mining. Uh, that was back in 2012, and then I got enough to buy the gold membership, and I didn't know how to turn it into dollars to buy local Bitcoin was like local Bitcoin was the thing, but I don't know if me going to a random like garage somewhere in a super mall will be the best idea for, as a youngster. But a lot of my I say questing as a kid. So concrete examples. One is the RuneScape type MMORPG games. I do think that they created this constant feedback loop, which we're trying to take a lot more close to heart within Dora, of saying you need to reward the user at every step they take. Right? Actually, one of my favorite. Nikita Beer quotes, even though I've been very critical of him before, is that every click that someone makes on an like a user makes on an app is a miracle. And I think that's very true. Like every single time that you interact with an app, there's so many things in life that had to happen for you to actually download that app and even give any taps into it. I think that it informs the way that we collectively interact with the internet, and that is actually a little bit beautiful. It's beautiful that there are some larger overarching patterns that let's say a designer can make, such that you can finally create a user flow that feels smooth enough for the entire population, right? Uh, so I think that rewarding the user on every step that they take is a really interesting one within RunScape. Like they have some mechanics of even just giving you like the little sounds for every hit that you give to a cow, let's say, and then after X amount of hits, it does another sound, and then it drops a few coins and even cow hide, even though there's no reason why coins should be on a cow. Uh, but it's something good, right? Like it's something like, oh, you get this like it's not gambling per se, but it's definitely heavily gamified. And then the second one, just really quickly, will be actually the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts are a form of questing. It's very IRL based. There are rewards like the patches, and there's this implicit, I guess, social hierarchy that if you have more patches, you're cooler than other Boy Scouts, or you're like more senior, even though you might be younger. But you're like perceived as hip within the Boy Scouts. But of course, Boy Scouts are not necessarily the coolest people ever beyond that circle. And I think that is also fine to admit, right? Like a lot of these questings are very contextual to
Yeah,
their own social
yeah.
graph, and that is completely fine as long as you're able to uh, get a hold of a social graph, and that social graph surface area is big enough that it can diffuminate into other social graphs. Any application should be fine. I think that it's an amazing way of growing an app.
Yeah. So I was in scouting as well, and
Ooh.
I worked on. I tried my best to introduce scouting into Web3, It didn't work out so well, but I think it's something that at least I was able to get people to about this type of thing. This like this this small circle of people that you go on quests with, you earn things, you get recognized, and then you graduate. It's like it's this forever process, this repeating journey that we go on as people throughout our lives, whether it is through, no matter what age you are, you're going on this path, right? And you can either go on your own or you can go with other people, and you're always going to win more. You're always going to get there as a happier person when you do it with other people, right? And I saw this meme the other day about, like, okay, we're all on a journey. Why don't we take 3 to 5 people with us, right? And that's the thing. And that's another way to build real friendships, and and have people truly appreciate your presence, is by, knowing their strengths and weaknesses, putting them in the best place to help you win this quest, and then celebrating together, right? I mean, I just watched Agatha All Along last night. I mean, that's another example. I don't know if you watched it or not, but that's another example of going on a quest. They went on the Witch's Road, or whatever it was called. It's like this is the forever spiritual quest, just like Wizard of Oz, right? That is a quest. It's a story as old as time, right? Where you have this group of people, you're going to you have an end goal that says, okay, when I'm reaching the goal, I'm going to, feel better. I'm gonna win the princess's hand, or whatever it may be, right? Same thing with Mario, right? It's all just a quest. It's all questing. That's all life is, right? But we have sort of, our degen culture has enshittified fun. And this term, I don't know if you've heard of this term yet, but it's from Cory Doctorow. He is a brilliant person who has coined this term, enshittification, for what Facebook and what Instagram and what Twitter has done to the internet, and what Google has done to the internet, and what being on chain and the gamification aspect of being on chain has enshittified fun for the sake of money, right? And in sacrifice of friendship, I believe. Because and that's and when we create questing parties that are transactional only, that's what you get. Thank you, Naomi. She said, enshittification is one of my favorite concepts. And yeah, we want to turn this around, and recently at where was it? Where was it? He had another speech, 50-minute long speech at where was it? Las Vegas. I forget what the convention was, but he does this every year, where he talks about enshittification of the internet. And so you should definitely go watch it and listen to it. It's really, really good. But see, this is what is happening, that we take on the internet, is like, we are so disconnected that we're not going on quests anymore. We're not finding ourselves and our purpose within that journey. And so what I need people to do who are building things is to build apps and systems and chains that facilitate questing to actually happen. Because when you're not thinking about that customer journey in that very specific way, it doesn't help your brand. It actually pushes people away from you, right? So I'm wondering, Bunny, how do you think that people can take that game design element from RPGs from D&D and translate that into exploring, which is what you do, exploring on chain.
It's precisely what Dora does, at least on the ethos of the company. The main, I feel like, pitch idea behind Dora was to truly become the one online interface that we can use to access any chain, but not any chain just for data. Like that is not that I will say every time someone requests only developer specific tooling within Dora, and to me that's very akin to identification because it will only serve like one person at a company, and it will be to the detriment of the cost benefit of having some working on something else that would actually help the user, right? And I had heard the term before. I thought it was a meme. I did not know it was a genuine term. The I think the way in which we're able to bring back this idea of questing on chain is one in which, and we came to this realization a little bit recently, but every single product in crypto that has reached proper product market fit had did it in tandem with a trend focused version of it, in a way that, let's say, Uniswap started reaching product market fit. It came the trend version of it, which was like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, any like Bitcoin.com type trending for tokens products. It had that when NFTs started reaching a lot of product market fit, it actually came hand in hand with, let's say, products like Mint.Fun, OpenSea, trends, Sora trends, and whatnot. So we are a very highly trend focused society as a whole, and especially within this industry. There's definitely a social aspect to questing in which people get rewarded for being in the node in certain aspects of crypto culture, right? If someone has a malady, they are very much associated with it, Sanko NFT, whatever. Like there's like that aspect of social questing, but the product themselves sometimes do not reflect this questing, right? Like there's no, oh, this person owns this NFT and you should maybe chat with them because they're going to this event. You need to wait until you hear of this. Let's say side events are quests to an extent, right? Like side events for certain collections are somewhat questy. I think that we can bring these experiences to the application themselves by maybe creating more concrete call to actions for a specific target demographic, right? Being able to say, hey, we saw you like DeFi. Did you hear about this new DEX on this new chain? Hearing about a new DEX on a new chain, something that truly a lot of people wouldn't care about, but for a DeFi DJ, maybe they actually very much do. If for a collector that really likes the Farcaster social graph, maybe looking at other social graphs around there, like the one on Lines or the one on Discover and Solana, maybe it's also interesting for them, right? Maybe being able to create like Farcaster native experience as well, or Discover native experiences. All of these quests, in my opinion, exist, but they haven't been brought back to the app. I think that we have this tendency of, there's an incentive alignment of trying to own the entirety of the user journey, and I think this has, for better or for worse, fragmented into a lot of these online islands that are all trying to create their own quests for their own categories instead of trying to unify it across each other. And I think that is where things should be headed, honestly.
Is that in relation to interoperability at all?
It's in 100% in relationship to it, but I guess the take on it is not in technical interoperability as opposed to truly just UX interoperability, right?
Okay.
From the standpoint of, yes, there's very real technical reasons as to why it's hard to go from base to Arbitrum, or like hard, like people have worked on it quite a bit now. But there's more so not that many apps that, let's say, will actively reward the user for taking that round trip or for taking a trip down different ecosystems. I think the layer 3 version of questing is an interesting one because it does create this implicit social contract between their users to say, I will explore this chain and maybe I'll get something out of it, but you're not prioritizing, let's say, fun as a KPI, right? Like, which I think is one of the best contributions Winnie has done to the space.
Yeah, I agree, and that's why I wanted to include it in my essay. So and I'm curious to know, when people are implementing fun as a KPI, how are they measuring it? practically, and then how do we actually like share those results and help other people around us, because I swear to God, aren't doing that, it is not helpful, right? I think that when we come across something that is profound and like very simple, but it's also like what can push us forward, I think that we owe it to ourselves to share that information as frequently as possible. Maybe not as frequently as people want, but it's like, okay, we found something that is compelling. Now let's help other people do the same thing, right? I think that's what we are good at here, is like helping other people. So the next thing I'm curious about is like, how do we, if we are helping people go on a quest on chain or in person, how do we help people sort of fit themselves into that role of paladin, tank, or I think that there's certain roles like BD or marketing or what have you, but I think it's a personality trait that people have as a healer or a support, or and I think that when people start thinking that way of like, hey, I'm in this very small party with people and I can actually contribute something because I've seen how to do that. I've absorbed how to do that thing. Because I think yes, there's a lot of gamers in the world, but there's a lot of people that are confused by how to be that role. And it's a very complicated thing. It's like, how do I become a healer if I'm not already a healer? Or how do I become information share if I don't do that?
I think a lot of this comes down to self and user empathy. So user self empathy from the standpoint of truly doing a deep dive on ourselves and seeing what are the different archetypes that we like to play with, both interpersonally and also in our different relationships with people. I don't know if there's a lot that we can do that other than being very authentic when we present with each other and being perceived the way, feeling comfortable being perceived by others, right? I think that authenticity can create an environment in which people also feel okay being authentic, right? So that's on the very personal level. On the product to person level, I think that a user empathy is key. One, and what I really practically mean by user empathy is truly just talking to users of your application, of other applications that you like, seeing how they relate to it, if they relate to it in exactly what you do, if there's something that you can do to make them feel better around the application that you built or that you use. And I think the ideal is quantifiable way of actually seeing if this product one that has empathy for its users is when a user of the product is able to onboard another user. I think that is the one test that becomes key at actually seeing whether or not your product can diffuminate and allow for, let's say, in that way, the quester becomes the initial quester user becomes this guide for every other user that follows behind them. And I think I think that's just like how this network effect of user like word of mouth propagates, right? I will be curious to identify the different categories of questers. I haven't seen enough of an exploration of that. If you have any insights on that as well, let's say if you take a product for example, do you think are the main categories of them?
I think when you are building a product, you should be thinking about those different people and how that one person moves in the world and how they would perceive this project or product. It's like, okay, if someone is I don't know, I mean, think about all of the great quests like Lord of the Rings, like they're like, you see their personalities and then how they would interact on a um, certain button clicks, for example, or like certain that they might be drawn to. I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about, right? One of the games that I used to play a lot. Well, I play a lot of games throughout my life, but it's like um, Skyrim, Oblivion, Dragon Age. But then I also played games like Overwatch, all of which have their own roles to play. Like you go in and you're a player and you have all these roles. So that's really what got me curious, is like how do we take all of these different roles and not just those roles, but the elements of questing, which is like, okay, first you go through a tutorial, right? Then so that you learn who you're interacting with. You get a map, get a lay of the land of like what is out there to be collected. How do you interact with this world? And then comes in the collecting part of the equation. And then after that, you take those things that you've collected, you might buy something. You might exchange those things for experience points, right? And we can build these things into on-chain environments. And then being able to clearly see how you've leveled up your knowledge on a particular topic, that's brilliant, right? And games do that well, but how do we translate that feeling of, hey, I completed this objective, and now I have learned this knowledge, right? That I can then pass on to someone else.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating, especially because there's a collaborative aspect of questing, which you get social reformation directly from your peers, right? Just by having either helped someone, having supported them on something that they were not able to do before, or receiving help by them, right? That's all, and being able to be successful at receiving that help. That's also a way of social affirmation from peer to peer. And then there's the, yes, solo questing environment of it. Um, how to bring this to even beyond apps, just like in general, like a crypto journey. I think that there's the, again, social information question, but in a solo manner. I think on financial apps, there's a very direct, do you have more money at the end of the day, or do
Mhm.
you have more of a token at the end of the day? That's a really easy financial way of quantifying your success on a quest. Beyond that, there's the, do you have more collections at the moment that you've actually, you found out a lot of about cool NFTs. Are you able to get a lot of them? Are you able to get enough of them that you feel that are a big enough holder of a community, of a collection, right? And then you can of course use all of these to create more experiences on top of them, or create experiences that reward the people that already completed this part of the quest, right? Like, it doesn't have to stop at, oh, you just made more money, oh, you now have more of these collections. You can reward this existing behavior by bringing them along into different quests of the similar types of journeys that they've already engaged in, but actually rewarding every step of the way, right? Or creating secondary auxiliary steps to it. If someone bought uh, uh, if someone bought a lady NFT, maybe they'll be interested on another NFT from the Remida collection. You saw it exactly on the Bored Apes, like punk creators and whatnot. I think there's these very heavy cultural aspects to questing. Right now, I think that within the application side of things, it's just a very hard problem that we're all trying to solve. I think we're all trying to give our best chance at creating not a recommendation engine, but definitely A/B testing what are the next quests that actually resonate with people. Because to me,
Mm.
that is what we're right now doing through tweets on Dora. If I'm being very honest, we've been featuring a few NFTs, a few tokens, seeing what actually resonate with our audience on Twitter, and we can clearly see, oh, our audience is interested on gaming and NFTs. we have very little engagement when it comes to, let's say, telling someone to buy a token, because yeah, maybe our audience Adora just doesn't like meme coins that much, and not because they hate them, it's just that they find NFTs and gaming so much more interesting, right? And I think it speaks to the product that we've built. So our next quest will be a lot more focused on gaming and NFTs, and so of course we're again on the area of user empathy. We are chatting with a lot more people that are interested on gaming and NFTs now.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
And what are these games that people are interested in?
Sanko was a big one. Sanko, and then the game on top of side games are the ones that keep on getting people excited. I feel like since we integrated Arbitrum, uh, we got a lot of the mind share from people that use Arbitrum, and there's a lot of Arbitrum L3 games. They got Ubisoft to deploy a game on top of Arbitrum. This was something that it was insane. But I think that now there's this whole subset of people on Arbitrum that just keep on expecting a new game to come out or new experiences on that game. And I mean, for us, it's very easy to create this one user profile so they can keep track of all of their items, all of their tokens across every single one of these games. That's what we do at Dora, right? But where the part that actually gets me excited is not actually giving that second step, that trend step that can actually guide people into, let's say, a gaming trends page for the user that is actually interested on games, right? What are the trendiest games on an ecosystem? Not because, oh, I want you to use this game because they pay me or whatever, but truly because if you're a gamer, you're gonna game, right? I don't want to change your user experience. I don't want to tell you to buy a token if you just want to game. If you want to game, here's another game. Just meet the user where they're at.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the interactions that I've had so far with games on chain has been very lackluster, but but maybe that's because I just haven't used many. And maybe I should explore more, but also like I also don't have a lot of time. So what do you think people are getting out of the gaming experience on chain? What is their end goal, or what is it just to have fun, or do you think people are meeting other people who are also playing as well? Is that what might be integrated? Like if I'm on Dora and after or before playing a game, how do I meet other people who are also playing that game?
I think that there is that social aspect, which right now Twitter serves as this very good gateway towards, right? Even right now, today I was at this very traditional tech slash crypto conference, in which people were asking effectively for career advice. And they were like, "Yeah, how do I get more involved in the crypto scene?" And I was like, "Just go on Twitter." And that is the one place where the social graph of any single crypto, I guess, company is able to find each other, right? Any single crypto product, there's always a community behind it. People, it's even become a bit of a meme, right? Of companies saying we care about our community, but it's true. People do care about their community. They're able to find each other. They're able to collaborate, mutually evangelize each other around the one commonality that they have, or even onboard more users into their products. Um, right now I think that a lot of the people on game that are gaming on chain are finding each other again primarily through Twitter, and also there are some how to say it, there are some entertainment and spectator dynamics showing up, like on Sanko. There's like Sanko TV, you can live stream in the same way that in PubNet you were able to live stream yourself if you were deploying a token, right? And then there were some live streams that went viral,
Yeah, I
and
saw those.
everyone, yeah, you know the ones I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people were just like, wow, this is really crazy, and some people wonder over that, right? I
I
think that
think
oh, go ahead.
that night or that day, just for a lot of people, that encapsulated what they thought crypto is, and that's very disappointing. but I mean, it is, it is what it is. You can't stop crazy people.
You cannot stop crazy people, and I think that we I like to think that yes, crypto does have a image problem, right? One of my favorite memes is actually that Ethereum does need a creative director. I love bringing it up every now and then. Whenever someone's like, "Damn, like this other chain is just doing so good at onboarding developers or users," and I'm like, "Yeah, we need a creative director." Uh,
Well, I'm not in any way saying that this is what I'm trying to do personally, but
yeah,
I think it is a mission. And I was actually just recently, I rewatched all of Newsroom, the show Newsroom this week, and I
cool.
mean there's have you seen it?
I've
Have
seen
you
clips on TikTok.
Okay. Well, there's one clip in Newsroom where Will, the anchor, goes, "I'm going to fix the entire internet." When they were having problems with their website for the show, and it's like, okay, is that the purpose of the Ethereum creative director? I don't know, but that's what I feel like when I see that GIF or that scene. It's like we are here to do better for us. We're here to do better for the people that come after us, and I think that that also comes down to listening to and playing with younger people, obviously, and also what I'm doing as EIC at ETH Investors Club with a quarterly magazine. So hopefully we can sort of mold and shape the narrative that people are reading and absorbing and sharing around when they do collect. So that's exciting to me.
Yeah, no, I think it's really exciting. I think the I would say that even if Ethereum does have a bit of an image problem and or crypto in general, the if, and there's these moments which create yes industry embarrassment. As a tweet content creator, it's really fun to be able to connect with other people that can make lighthearted takes on it. I think that is really fascinating. Like I've some of my best friends I met just by tweeting at jokes at each other, and I think that's really beautiful. Making the right shit post at the right time has been instrumental to not only my career but my life. And I think that's insane. And I think that every other person has had that experience in various degrees on different again social quests in crypto.
Yeah, yeah, it's that. Well, I mean, I think that would be called the Bard, right?
The bar.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have the yeah, I don't know what to call it actually. Yeah.
The internet fool, the person that we just make fun of, or they make
Yeah.
fun of each other. It's like every questing party needs a bard. It also needs
Yeah.
someone to laugh at, or
The
some
jester.
people to laugh with. Yeah, the 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 internet's jester, right? That's a lot of us these days. Um, but hopefully our quests are not filled with slop and are instead filled with creative energy that says, okay, how do I complete this objective? And another fascinating thing was I watched this video yesterday about how this guy's decided to go guideless when playing games. So like you remember how you would actually like go to a store and buy a game guide where it tells
Right.
you how to play a game and like which missions to go on, who to talk to, where to find them. But going guideless is actually really powerful because you figure things out on your own, and it's that, and something else that we talk about a lot in crypto is that aha moment. It's like, oh, I figured this thing out. Because when you figure something out, whether it's in a game or whether it's on chain, personally, I had a terrible time figuring out ENS for the first time. But when you figure it out, it's like, oh wait, I can tell other people now because this made me feel good, right? That's a very beautiful thing, and I think that's part of going on a quest, it's like, okay, do I do I do I have the time to figure this out on my own and reach that peak moment of like figuring it out, or do I just ask someone else and figure it out? Who
I
knows,
think,
right?
yeah, no, who knows? And I used to be very silly when playing video games, and I would always get stuck uh, with one page. Sorry, with one page, with one mission. Usually, for some reason, the third mission of every game, just because the first one is very handholdy, the second one tests your knowledge, the third one training wheels throw off, and I would just sometimes not know what to do. It's an interesting pattern that I saw for a while. So I will spend a lot of time on vlogs just seeing, okay, how do you get over this, right? And every now and then I will get stressed because very early days, a new game will come out and there will be no information about how to get over this level in Spanish. So I will have to then go to the English version, and maybe the game wasn't as popular amongst English speaking communities. So then I will have this auxiliary quest of learning English to understand the instructions of how to get over a level. And then, yes, I think that there's something incredibly rewarding about figuring things out on your own. Um, but I think it gets into these personas of, are you someone that prefers to truly try to get everything done your way? Much later in life I got into speed running, and then that was okay, I want to just speed run my own way. I don't want to look at any glitches. I want to figure things out on my own. Or are you someone that prefers to be in a journey with a guide, right? Sometimes people like tour guides.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I don't. You see tour guides all the time, but I don't think I've ever actually gone on a tour with a tour guide. Maybe I should do that more often.
I think they're fun. I really like it because tour guides are usually so, especially at museums, they're truly like PhDs, right? Which is crazy that you just have a true, genuine, honest to God PhD standing there with decades of knowledge, and then they're like, "Yeah, so this painting, what do you think?" And I'm like, "Cool, it's cool. What do you think?" And then they go, "Well, back in 1980, there was no pigments. Like this type of pigment was really hard to find, but this one artist knew the royal family, so therefore they got purple, right?" So yeah,
Yeah, I think that we should. Well, we definitely have tour guides on chain.
yeah.
I mean, I think I take that role sometimes, and I know many people who take up that role as well, and I appreciate every one of them. Um, but before we go on to our second hour, do you want to have any lasting thoughts?
No, I will. I would actually be curious to know what is the last fun quest you've had on chain. I both sorry on chain, both meaning on a on chain app and also social on chain.
Mm,
Yeah, like
well,
IRL social on chain.
hmm,
Oh, actually, wait. Apologies. Three examples. On chain app. So like something you did on chain, social on chain, social IRL on chain, and then I guess the third one can be like a solo expedition that you had on chain.
okay. So let's see. I think IRL, I mentioned this earlier. I The most fascinating thing that I saw happen again was the scavenger hunt at FWB Fest. That was probably the best IRL quest that I've seen happen. And then as far as on-chain questing, I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot as far as traditional on-chain questing is concerned. There's this thing called FarQuest, which I tried once. Um, but I think more sort of in in the vague sense, I think something that so an experience that I think was really exciting was, I think, signing up to Kiwi and Kiwi News. And it's the fact that we go from talking about things, whether it's news or what have you, in the Telegram, and then we can share that experience on the app and then upvote people. There's content, there's writing contests. I think that all of those elements combine to go on a quest. I think it doesn't have to be so exact, but I think those elements combined, talking about it, experiencing it, and then completing an action as far as submitting a link, is very rewarding, especially when you win a contest. And I think that it comes down to what you reward not only yourself with, the satisfaction of submitting a link, especially if it's your own link to your own, but the fact that there are periodic questing where you have something that you could actually win, right? If you're good enough, or if you market your writing enough, or whatever, right? I think that that is the point, is to gain knowledge, gain whatever, and then and then be in community with people, even though there's like what 700 people in the Telegram chat. It's like you're talking about not just Kiwi but news that's going on. So that's again something I've been thinking about as well. So that's an example of on-chain and then IRL questing. I will tell us before we go to our second section, which is relevant, is that probably the worst experience that I've had with a IRL questing at a Web3 event was when I was asked to download an app and then sort of tweet about something before receiving merch. And it took me standing there in a line where I should have been networking with people for more than 5 minutes, trying to download this app, connect my wallet, and then do something in the app before receiving the merchandise or the free thing. And I'm like, okay, first of all, you just wasted 5 minutes of my time when there's like 10 other people trying to talk to me. So if you are designing Quest where people are in person with you, please just stop that whole experience where you have to download an app and it takes you 5 minutes to log in and do the thing. That is the worst experience. That is like the antithesis of what you should be doing.
If I can make a quick comment on that, which I think you'll appreciate, because we work with, like, at this point with like 20 chains. We've wanted to do some activations on some things, and we realized at one point when we scoped out an activation, okay, this will take like the user like quite a few minutes, and we were like, okay, maybe not. Maybe we can just wait until we ship more infrastructure stuff, make it the experience a bit smoother. I think making one user mad that will never ever use your product is far more dangerous than just
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Little bit more. I think that becoming a hater of a product is crazy, right? Like becoming.
Well, I'm not a hater.
No, but making someone become that is like, as a product builder, is crazy. You should never do that.
Yeah, and you're right. I have never opened that up since that day.
Yeah, it's negative feedback. Like first impressions matter, especially with abstract objects and products.
Exactly. Okay. Well, this has been an amazing hour. Thank you so much for chatting. I had so much fun learning and talking with you.
No, thanks to you. I actually had a lot of fun learning, and actually I'm very thankful for the framework of personas within questing, which can be quote unquote like user personas in like design thinking, right? But how these personas interact as well is an extra layer of insight that I hadn't considered as much before. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you, Bunny.
Yeah. Have a
See
good
ya.
one. Bye-bye. Cheers.
We are at our halfway point. We have quite a few people waiting for us to chat for a little bit. We are here for another hour, well, until 5 o'clock. So let's get started. We are talking with International Farcaster Fridays. I think we have Toronto, London, Chicago, and Boston with us. So we're going to hear some beautiful accents. We're going to hear some beautiful people who love Farcaster, and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm going to bring some people up now.
Hey, everyone.
Wow, so many people. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
GM.
GM.
So sometimes we have these panel discussions, and I love them. So this is more of a thinking show where we think together and talk together and just have a conversation. So it's just really, really chill. Really, just like going around and talking about how we not only design events in person, but how we show up to those events and then do more than just networking, because that gets a little boring after a while, right? We've all done that. So I don't know if you all read my essay that we're talking about this month, or just this general idea of like questing and having fun on chain and in person, and how we sort of evolve that into something new and better for the internet and for ourselves. But I want to go ahead and give you all a chance to introduce yourselves. I would love. I only know one of you, I think, but yeah, would love to hear more from you. Poan, do you want to start?
Yeah, maybe just to add some more context, Riley, after you put that article around questing and you and Bunny were able to meet online and chat, expanding on that concept of event design, the other 4 folks here and I happen to be part of a group chat on Warpcast because we are all IRL hosts. Specifically, we all did a Farcaster Friday event earlier this month, and we're gearing up for the second IRL Farcaster Friday in our respective cities. And we were just asking questions in this chat around like, what did you do last time, or what are you thinking next time? And it just seemed like this might be a great opportunity to bring that type of mind share and discussion live on our State of People, since it was very relevant to this idea of improving different types of events. Again, in our case, being IRL. And many of the folks here not only participated in the Farcaster Fridays, but they do a lot of other really interesting events for many other communities. I know I posted about, we got Shi-Fi here, Boys Club, Base, and others, and of course the local one. So anyways, just wanted to set that context and just thank everyone for jumping into, rather than a one-on-one or just like a private, intimate brain share, it was, okay, yeah, let's just do a live stream and share this knowledge with everyone. But I can kick off. So yeah, Poan, my initials are POY, so I go by Poi Meets World on Farcaster and on X, Twitter. And I've been doing in-person events ever since I moved to Vegas. That's sort of my base after nomading. And I was just doing a lot of different events, but it was really when I discovered that having some budget, like my, DAO that I was a part of had some community budget where that started getting more people excited about wanting to contribute. Because before, I think sometimes it was a bit herding cats of getting people to take a break. But I think that was a little carrot that helped to get other people interested in coming out, being delighted, but also inspired, like, oh, I want to organize something, or maybe I can get a little bit of budget to, buy some drinks. So anyway, I'll stop there. I do the Vegas channel in Farcaster with a few other folks, and yeah, really want to hear from the rest of you because we have a very global audience today, or global panel. So maybe I'll popcorn over to OXBid because I think it's an evening for you. It's the latest time zone for you. So please kick us off.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fawn, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm in London. It's now 9 p.m. something, and I'm super excited to chat with you folks because I'm missing everyone since Basecamp. I think this was the last time we saw each other in person. And my personal thoughts was always about like building networking and community, because even like a London, a huge scene for cryptocurrency market, I guess, especially right now with a lot of interesting news and popped on fun being here. We are still very spread out, and we always chat with folks about like how to be together in one place and actually like support each other and have each other back, and also just to chat as normal humans, not just the builders and devs and stuff like that. So if I introduce myself, I've been into crypto space for quite a while. And since last 2 years, I've been building Bola. It originally is decentralized application. Right now is meme coins trading app on Base. And at the same time, I'm also supporting Base community here in London. And I'm organizing a lot of different events. So the recent one was Ethereum film. We did a streaming, and we also did a happy hour for Base community in London. And since Farcaster exists, I also started to support the London channel, and I'm an owner of London channel. And I did a lot of ERL. So we usually do like a breakfast every month. We did a faraway con as well, and a lot of different stuff together. And now I feel like Farcaster people became my best friends. We meet each other quite often. We do stuff together. We have a lot of plans to organize some, maybe kind of businesses together, but it's super fun and cool. And I guess that's what we all should do to support each other. Yeah, I'm done. Shall I pass it to Links? I recognize you today.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I've met Oksana a couple times in real life, and I think this is the first time she recognized me. Although I don't have the high ground on that, unfortunately, so I'm not going to make too much fun of you for that. Yeah, so I'm Lynx. I have hosted a couple of events in Toronto just for Farcasters, some during ETH Toronto, and then more recently that Farcaster Friday. I plan to continue doing that month over month, just because there are a lot of people who are just interested in these kind of crypto topics. I think when they show up to a place where there are other people who have similar curiosities, I guess I would say, they always say the same thing. They're always just like, "Oh, it's really nice to be able to talk to people about this kind of thing." And I think honestly, that's why I do it. I just feel like I felt the same way before I started meeting people like that, and just having those in real life events. It really just kind of, not only does it is it a nice place to hang out, but then when you see someone online later, it's more three-dimensional afterwards. It's this stronger connection that you have with them. So yeah, I really think that kind of URL IRL flow is really important. I will pass the mic to Chicago.
Thank you, Lynx. I'm Chicago on Farcaster, and I'm also the Chicago channel owner. I go by Jamie in the real world, and I host IRL events. I kind of took the torch from DeWoofy probably about a year ago, and it was interesting that Farcaster Fridays came around because we actually had just discussed, and we're like, we should get together once a month and kind of have it rotating and a standing day. Because it gets really exhausting trying to determine schedules and polls and what were the results and all this. So really excited about Farcaster Fridays. We typically meet once a month, and it's been really successful. And I would say kind of the same thing on what Link said about it really gives a full third dimension to the person that you're interacting with online, because now you have that real world connection, and there's so much more that you can pick up on in natural conversation, organically changing the topic and things like that, but then also being able to interact with them online. And I think that's what really drew me to Farcaster, and that's definitely why I'm still here. Outside of Farcaster, I also am full time in a NFT, and actually we're doing like EVM infrastructure company, Reservoir. And something that is a little bit missing when you're working at a remote company is that you don't bond with your coworkers or colleagues because you don't work together. And in many ways, I feel like my Farcaster community in Chicago is like very much like those are my colleagues. And like we hang out and we talk about things, we talk about work, we talk about like the state of the space, we talk about what's coming down in the future. And then we also talk about like, hey, are you going to a concert? Hey, that restaurant opened up. Did you check it out? So it's really a great community and it's pretty diverse. And we have like a solid crew of about, I would say like 10 people that are recurring at our events. And that definitely brings some depth to the events as well. So that's me, my story. I'm going to pass it on to Jack.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Jack. I'm from Boston, and I've been running the Boston Farcaster meetups. I'm also kind of the admin of the Boston channel too, so I'm trying to kind of cultivate a place where people can kind of share information. Maybe that's just beyond a Telegram group chat. There's a couple other Boston crypto communities. One of them being Boston DAO, which is just a big group chat of like 800 members, and it gets a little noisy. So I think it's really nice to have kind of a channel where people can, have like focused conversations and share current events. And yeah, especially when it comes to meeting up in person. We've had a few meetups. So I joined, I think the first one that I threw was in January of this year. And we met at a bar close to Fenway Park. For the first Farcaster Friday, I was hoping that the Red Sox would be playing so we could all go get a ticket. But they weren't playing, so we just ended up going to somewhere close by to there. But yeah, similar to kind of what Lynx was saying, it's really nice to, kind of be able to meet in person and talk about, shared interests, whereas maybe people in your daily lives don't fully understand kind of the technologies that are, being used, why people, just hearing people's stories of how they got into, Farcaster or kind of blockchain technologies is really kind of, I think it's really moving. And I think the goal with the Boston community too is more so than just, getting together, but maybe sharing resources, networking, bringing kind of friends and family to the events, things like that. And yeah, kind of similar to Jamie, we have about 10 kind of recurring people, but we've had kind of ebbs and flows. Other events that we've done, just kind of walks around Harvard campus, as well as, yeah, just kind of meeting up at parks, things like that. But yeah, I'm super glad that we have kind of a standing day now to kind of meet up, which is yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit about me in Boston. Yeah, Riley, if you want to take it back and
Yeah, I hearing what you all do and sort of your backgrounds, I am super interested in this sort of not necessarily a problem, but something that I've noticed at the bigger conferences is that a lot of people don't do much exploration in the city that they're visiting, right? We stay at the conference center. We don't really learn a lot about the culture that we're visiting. And that translates to a lot of misinformation on social media. A lot of the times, I mean, we saw this at HTC, I believe, if you were online during that time. And what I want to do is figure out how at these events, whether they be side events or the major conference, how do we get people to explore those places, even though they don't have time? So that's another aspect of it. But how do we get people to learn more, whether it be before or after the conference, about the place that they're visiting? And then how do we invite those people who are already living in that city into our space to make it more comfortable to learn about crypto or whatever we're building? Because a lot of, I mean, all I see when someone's visiting an event is like, oh, I'm talking to my Uber driver, because that's the only person that they're talking to in that city besides the people that are going to the conference. It's like, oh, we're going from one side event to another side event in an Uber or walking there, and we're not really talking in that city. So when I went to East Denver, I went to some of those art galleries. I went to some of those clothing shops and just like started to integrate into like to figure out what Denver is all about, because that was my first time in Denver, honestly. But I think it's really fun to say, okay, if you're seeing something developing, or if you're in a new place, to learn about that place and not just go there for business, right? I don't know. Maybe that's a totally crazy thing. But personally, when I travel somewhere, especially if I'm going to spend thousands of dollars for travel, what's the point if you can't sort of absorb that international culture?
It's interesting that you say that, because I feel like when I talk to a lot of people, they actually do try to like, okay, if you're in Austin for permissionless last year, everyone was trying to make sure that they got the barbecue. Everyone was trying to make sure that they saw these like waterfront spots. Everyone was trying to make sure that they saw like certain specific like streets where they had restaurants and live music and stuff. So I felt like there was some effort there, and it's true, like, you know, it's hard to meet locals when you're like coming in from out of town and you're meeting all these new friends at a conference or something too. But at least putting themselves in an environment that was outside the conference center, it felt like a lot of people were trying to do that. Is that not? I mean, I felt like that was true at ETH Denver too. Is that not? Did you feel like that wasn't the case at ETH Denver?
No, I just wanted to see what you all would say.
Yeah, it's interesting because I wonder how many of you see. I was lucky enough that Chicago was in Vegas and used to live there, and so has this local knowledge as well. And so when she was in town, we sort of like made an event out of it. I think that's fair to say, just to have like another organizer bring local people trying like a new spot, so it wasn't your typical thing. And I wonder how many of you, like have maybe international or just like out of town folks that have come to your meetups. It's just like another way to see maybe a different side of the city, or like meet other folks interested in the same things.
We do something similar in Chicago as well. I think that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you, like if there was an event getting together. But anytime that I find a Farcaster, almost anytime that I find a Farcaster that's visiting Chicago, I almost always plan an event to try to like welcome them and like for them to get to know the greater Farcaster community. So the first one that we hosted was with Sam and Mateo coming from Toronto, and we got deep dish with them, and we ended up having like a really good turnout, and it was fun. And then we've also had Robbie with 3 E's coming from LA, and actually the most recent one was Evelyn, I think Evelyn Yap 17, and she came from LA. She's a Michelin chef, or former Michelin star chef, and she said that she was coming in, and I was like, we'll do a get together. So we found like a local spot on Sunday and we opened it up. And then this one, like for example, some of the other ones are a little bit more crypto heavy, like the people are more heavily embedded. And so sometimes the topics that we talk about will skew that way also. But for example, like Evelyn is not so native into crypto. And so I encouraged like people, if they wanted to, like, her partner was coming, my partner came. And so it was a little bit less Web3 focused and more just about like, let's talk about food, activities. DeWolfie gave us the lowdown on what it's like to live in Austin. And we also talked and had a throwdown on like where the best Italian beef is in Chicago. And we did not reach a consensus.
Yeah, I think Boston being a pretty touristy place, I think there's kind of people sometimes coming in just saying, "Hey, I'm in town and we want to grab a coffee." That's pretty powerful. So kind of people have networked through that. But I think what's also kind of powerful is also just like the resource sharing, right? Maybe there's kind of like a tourist coming in just for the weekend for business, and they're looking for, the better pastry shop, Modern or Mike's, just kind of giving that perspective, and, having that almost just that resource available to them. And yeah, if people can meet up, all the better, and it aligns with an event, that'd be great. But yeah, I think just bringing kind of people together in person, something to be said about how powerful that can be.
I was just thinking that I have never done something touristics in terms of the events. I think I'm just too degen and too Web3. And in terms of how we greet the new people into space, I guess I always try to help. Like one of the greatest examples was when Jamie moved to London for 3 weeks for A16Z school, and we all were helping him to find the best way and place where to live, and also like organizing stuff around. And that's what we usually do. And I found Farcaster chat, London chat, one of the useful one if you want to find the best coffee in some specific areas, because London is quite big city. It's very touristic, of course, but I guess it's also very well known where to go. But actually, this question makes me feel that maybe we should organize some, I don't know, excursion or something like that all together and explore city by walking or doing some cool stuff. It could be cool.
It's funny because I'm going to Montreal soon, and I'm the one who's like messaging Farcasters and like browbeating them into having an event when I'm there. So it's like, yeah, you could be local, or you could just like bug the locals when you show up. I feel like it's either way, you end up with people getting together.
Yeah, I had the same issue with Miami, honestly. When I came to Miami and spent like 2 weeks, I couldn't meet any Farcaster people. I was there for some like a blockchain weekend and stuff like that. I met people outside of Farcaster, but there are a couple of big Farcaster accounts who were not happy to meet with me, or they were super busy, or they were away. So it really depends where you are. But we are, I think, pushing this narrative and pushing people together, which is great.
Link, since you're in Toronto, I'm curious, have you been to the CN Tower?
I mean, yeah, I have been. I won't recommend it to anyone, to be honest.
I asked that because there's this, I don't know if it happens in your respective cities, please chime in, but I've met people from Toronto. I'm Canadian as well, Vancouver, so West Coast. But the joke from a few folks in Toronto was, well, we live here, so we've actually never been to it. And that makes me think sometimes it could be fun to do be a tourist in your own city, because there might be things that you overlook. Or maybe you're like tired of taking people to the same place.
I love being a tourist in my own city. It's just specifically the CN Tower. They don't tell you that half of it is closed right now, and it's like increase in price. If you want to go to the CN Tower, just go to the restaurant that's up there, because it's free to go up. It's like you just have to like buy something to eat. Anyways, it's way better. All this to say, I love being a tourist in my own city, and I will go to so many other tourist places other than the CN Tower. But yeah, it's true that most people don't go to the CN Tower if they live here.
I intentionally picked something controversial. So KBC was supposed to join because they, in our, again, group chat for the Farcaster Friday host, had some questions, and I just got a text that they can't actually make it anymore. But in case they tune into the stream, or in case someone else has the question, I know they were thinking that it might be difficult to start a Farcaster Friday because they're one of the only people locally that are actually on Farcaster. And I know for me personally, for the one I hosted, I invited some people that aren't on and said, hey, if you want to just learn about decentralized social, I can onboard you live. You can just learn and meet some interesting people that are part of that community. So I'm curious for all of you, if for your Farcaster Friday, was everyone already on there, or was that also an onboarding experience, or what would be some, I guess, live advice you'd have for KBC?
Yeah, I think like it's tough. I think if you find one person, and this is like the kind of thing I went into, the first couple events I did were around like an Ethereum event in Toronto. So there was lots of people who came in from out of town. And so they're all like, okay, this is great. You're going to take us to like a local coffee shop and a local bar. And we had 2 events and it was great. And then when Farcaster Friday came, I was just like, well, I don't know if anyone's going to show up. It's on the east side of the city. I don't know how many people are on the east side of the city versus the west. You know what? Worst case, I'm going to be at the table with a beer by myself. And honestly, that's not so bad. That's like an okay outcome for me. And if even one person shows up, I didn't think it was that bad. So if you're not like me and you're worried about that, even just have like one friend, even if they're not a crypto friend, show up with you and just see what happens, right?
I think that's a really good point, like about having non-crypto people come. So besides Farcaster Chicago, I also organize a bicycle bakery tour in Chicago that we do every couple months. I organize it, it's free, and I just put it out on social and then people come. And like kind of like how Link said, like he would go and have a beer anyway. I would still go to these bakeries and enjoy them. I just invite other people because I think it would be fun to try it with other people. So I think if either there's not a ton of Farcaster people present in your area, then I would open it to like the greater Web3 community in that area. If the Web3 community is small, then I would open it further and kind of just have like friends, or if there's like a specific restaurant you're trying or a specific activity, it could be because there's like so many aspects of like Web3 that tie in with other interests. For example, I know that like Archive DAO does like museum visits and stuff like that, and I've done that before. And I thought that was really nice. You meet like a different group of people who like want to go to a museum. You can do like breweries, bakeries, there's like all sorts of things, and people have diverse interests, and then you can kind of drive the conversation and just like drop it in. If they want to explore, then you can like onboard them right there, but otherwise kind of just leave it open, free information, and like low pressure.
Well, going to an event where you're going to going to a museum sounds like a lot of fun to me. So how do you gauge what and what you should do? And then when you are done with the event, how do you measure if people actually had fun or not? I saw this meme recently where someone said sending a party full email after the event to ask people if I was normal. So after an event, how do you determine if people actually had fun or if they got what they wanted to out of the event?
Usually I just ask like if when people are leaving, I just be like, again next month, like you down for the next one? And if they say yes, I mean sometimes they say yes and you can tell they mean no, but like usually if they say yes, it's like, okay, great, I'll hold another one.
In terms of myself, I found that as more often we do events, as more consistent we do events, so we have more people. And back to the previous question, it's always some normies, I guess, because London is full of normies people and people who curious like what these crazy freaks are doing, because we had some issues with Ethereum film when a bunch of like Wall Street guys couldn't join us because we had a very strict limitation that they needed to attach their DeFi wallet. So to be able to participate in the event, and they couldn't. I tried to explain.
So wait,
them
they refused or they couldn't do it?
They couldn't do that. I said them step by step, and we were overbooked. That's why I couldn't keep the places for them. So we discussed that with them that they're gonna come to next event, and I will sit them and show how it works. They just couldn't do that.
How can you figure out a Bloomberg terminal, but you can't figure out how to connect your Rainbow wallet? Like,
I can tell you more. That specific person who was supposed to bring the 5 other guys, he wants to organize like tokenized hedge fund. So the question is how you're going to do that if you cannot understand how Web3 works and how to download the wallet to connect with LumaPage, whatever. So we have different people, and I'm happy that all of them actually know about crypto and thinking about crypto and ready to join events. They just don't know how. And it makes us to work harder and like really onboard people physically, because sometimes URL it's just impossible to just describe everything. And yeah, and as more we do, as much we'll see the difference. Like I think in the beginning it was just purely Farcaster people. Then like as I was doing breakfast already 4 months, it's not just connected to Farcaster Fridays, was my separate thing in London. And in the end, I got mostly like 60 people who is crypto, and 40 others is their friends and even some family members who were curious about that, and they wanted to know more people except just their friend. And it was very cool. And I know a lot of them actually joined Farcaster after that event.
So one thing in that we were talking about earlier is this idea in game design of feedback loops. So what I would suggest if someone's thinking about doing an event is like this feedback loop of, okay, what do I do in the before the event to help people sort of get comfortable with coming to the event? And then what do I do after the event as a feedback loop of not just saying, hey, did you have fun? But like, okay, what did you learn? What are your questions that you have? And could you figure it out? Were you alert? We took you to this place. Do you hate this type of art that we went to this museum and saw? Or like, how many people did you actually follow up with? And how many people did they follow up with? So I think figuring that out is like part of the discovery process, part of the feedback loop process, which is found in all of game design and all of event design. It's like, how do you follow up with people? And then so that sort of integrating that into your loop of, okay, before we go to the next event, we're going to make sure that all these questions are answered. So these are all the things that an event designer should be thinking about. And I'm curious if you all think about that as well, Jack or Lynx or Jamie. Happy to hear about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like kind of ask people if they've had fun at the events. I feel like if you say that, it means that like you think that they didn't have fun and therefore they might think it wasn't fun. But what I'll do is I'll be like, hey, what do you think of this venue here? Maybe it was too busy, or maybe it was raining and we were outside. So kind of just thinking about, the game time decisions of maybe we have to call an audible and go inside, or change of plans, we have to meet here because the other place is too busy. I know that for a couple of our events, we've had trouble with either securing a venue on, no one wanting to really like front the $200 as the deposit for, the open bar tab or something like that, where it's just like overhead cost. And I think that's like, yeah, just kind of securing a venue, whether it's reservations or, at the end of the day or at the end of the meetup, when the bar tab comes, everyone's like, oh, like, can I get this on a separate tab and things like that. That's when I think, we should be really using the technology that we're advocating for. And maybe there should be some sort of, I don't know, pool, something going on where they can like itemize the receipts after. I know that Ted's been sponsoring a couple events in Boston, which has been great. So yeah, I think it's, we can be more creative with the ways to, get feedback or, group vote on the next venue or things like that. But yeah, that was kind of just my thoughts.
It's funny, Riley Beans, because sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say in terms of like that whole success, I do think it's funny, Jack, what you said about like, oh, if you have to ask if it's fun, then, that might make it seem like it wasn't. I get that. For me, and I kind of mentioned this in my opening, something that I see as a success factor. If other people are asking, like, yeah, when's the next one? I want to do this again. But then going a step further, if other people want to help organize, like they had such a good time that they have ideas and they want to take some ownership, which I love. I mean, I've been doing events for so long, big awards galas to like, casual meetups. But again, I'm only one person. And I hope to make every event, but if I can't, then it's nice to have some other, ambassadors that want to take that on. And so we've had that, at least in Vegas, that other people have expressed that interest and that desire, and they want to ideate. In terms of ideas, I know, and just kind of sharing that feedback and how things went. The last Farcaster Friday, because we're so global, Asia starts first, then London, the UK, then East Coast, West Coast. And I saw links post in the group chat. Wait, New York is still going? I'm already home in bed. I hope that doesn't mean my meetup was boring. And I was like, no. We also, had a nice chat, got to connect, ate some good food, but then we all also, wanted to go to bed. So it's just very interesting seeing the different types of events people put on, and how, the New York crew, they really kept going from, I think, a co-working day to then seeing fireworks at nighttime. I'm wondering if that, if anyone got some inspiration seeing the other events that took place, or how that's influenced how you're hosting the next one. Or if anyone just feels like sharing more about how their event went, if they're keeping exactly the same, or how they
So
went.
it's funny because it is the exact same, and like the stuff that you're saying, Riley Beans, like I'm sure for someone who really cares about doing events, it makes sense. And for me, I was just like, how can I do this in the most like low impact, low effort way, and then I can potentially build from there. So I'm not super worried about like metrics, or even if people show up, it's more just like I'll just consistently come like every month, and hopefully that creates a big enough community that someone, exactly what you're saying, Poe, that someone else like is like, oh, I actually want to do a different event, or I want to host an event. We actually have Farcaster poker tourney coming up in Toronto, and we have like someone like said, hey, let's all get together for the Ethereum movie. And so people just started, like, because we met each other, and there was a couple people who actually lived in the same neighborhood, they just started meeting each other. And I feel like that, for me, like, I agree with you, Poe. I think that's like really, when you have a community, it's just like self-sustaining. Like they can, it doesn't need me, and like of course I'll contribute, but the fact that it doesn't need me, it's like, okay, now you're a community.
And just to tack on to that, when it's a professional event and there needs to be like an ROI and was this a good use of our money and all of this, then I would definitely do like some sort of exit survey, possibly like as they go, or like record questions that they have, and like do some sort of like quality, checking quality of the event. But for me, if I started doing that for Farcaster events, like it would no longer be fun for me. Like part of the reason why I like doing them is because they are casual. And I think that just having this opportunity to like hang with people who like understand where I'm coming from, who like we all work in the same space, and or we're passionate about, the Web3 space, that's like reward enough. And if they keep showing up like our regulars do, then that's all the feedback that I need. But I think like one of the things I agree with is like keeping it consistent, like having a consistent chat, and then also having the consistent events. And it doesn't mean like every week is like too much of a lift for everyone. Like people have to work. Because I know that there was talk about just like in one of the Ethereum Chicago chats, like maybe we should co-work like twice a week. That's a heavy lift. So I think keeping it fun enough, for example, going to like a cool place, not meeting at McDonald's, no offense, McDonald's, and then also keeping like the lift pretty low. Like having a place that's like easily accessible by car, easily accessible by train. I think like making it easy for people to join and stop by, that's like how you get the turnout.
I just want to say twice a week sounds wild. I don't know anyone that could do that unless you're like in New York, and it's a lot where it's a lot easier, more walkable, you know.
And if there's people who want to do that, like find each other. It's true. You can find each other on Farcaster, hopefully. It's not going to be me, though.
Yeah, I feel like that's more of a role for like kind of sub communities, maybe. I think that like I've been talking to a couple people like from Philadelphia that, they're big sports people. And I'd love to, just like, watch like a Celtics game with them once a week or something, where it's like I would be doing that usually. But, if we would just want to like combine, the viewing place and, kind of meet up like that, like super casual, not even like an event, but just like kind of those like, yeah, like smaller sub communities. Or yeah, I think it just like, yeah, things just kind of flow naturally.
Jack, I know you shared how you had some POAPs and like buttons at some of your meetups. Was that like a you initiated thing? Like, did someone
Yeah.
show up? Like,
Yeah, no, we had POAPs at the first couple events. I don't know why we stopped, but yeah, it was cool to really just like have like a proof of attendance there. And even like some people that didn't get it, like they didn't scan it, whether they left early or I don't know, the sheet was lost or something, that they asked me for it after, just for that kind of like that memorabilia. Like I was there, in March of 2024. So yeah, I think like that's a cool use case of, maybe one day it'll be kind of displayed on someone's, whether it's a wallet or something where it's like, oh, they've been to 12 executive or 12, consistent, meetups. Like they deserve to be on a leaderboard or something. Maybe they get a cupcake or something for that. But kind of that maybe kind of related to your kind of Riley, what you were speaking about earlier, kind of that gamification aspect, right? Where maybe they level up in some sort of community. Now they're like a townie or something. Maybe they're a town employee or whatever, moderator. Something where it like unlocks more commitment based on how much they've either contributed. Kind of Poe, to your point about it sucks to be the only person planning stuff, coordinating everything. Maybe that's the type of kind of gamification that we need, where it can enhance the event by putting some sort of incentive for people to help out. But yeah, the POAP was there for kind of just like a memorabilia, but I think there could be a lot of different use cases for those down the road.
I mean, you're all in big hubs. So, something I'll share that just worked out because of a event right before the last Farcaster Friday was the Stand with Crypto movement. So it's very US centric, and they're just trying to, bipartisan group that's trying to share awareness of which candidates are more pro crypto on the other side. And so they were in town just before I was doing Farcaster Friday, and they had all this swag, like T-shirts and stickers, and I just thought, oh, I'm having a little crypto meetup tomorrow. Maybe I'll just take some extra and I can give it out as a prize. And so when we had the meetup on the Friday, there were two new faces that I'd never seen before. So I'm like, all right, you get a T-shirt, you get a T-shirt. Here's some stickers. So I don't know, there's a way to combine, like, yeah, if you're at an event in the same vicinity and they have extra things, you can surprise and delight some of your event attendees. People were really happy to get a T-shirt and a hat. I was like, oh, that didn't really cost me extra.
Speaking of doing like giveaway stuff, but then also the POAPs, I've also talked to the Icebreaker team a little bit. Obviously, we've both been busy, so we didn't get it off the ground. But one of the things we talked about was having like an attestation to like show that you are a local for a city. And that's something that I would really like to do, is have like FC Chicago, and then like everyone who is a local for Chicago, they get the attestation. And then possibly having like another attestation related to if you're visiting and we have an event, then any one of like the full-time residents can like give you that attestation. And then you can like have it in your profile and like prove like, yes, I like hung out with Farcaster Chicago.
Boston has that. We have the Bostonian EAS on Icebreaker, so I've kind of attested for a couple people. I was trying to find one of our kind of community members, Genuine Jack. Shout out to him. He made Farcaster Boston pins, and he was giving them out at the meetups. So like, yeah, kind of those things too, where it's like, whether it's even like smaller merch or like identity badges, things like that, I think they can go a long way.
And again, these are things that you're talking about that aren't extractive. I mean, how crazy is that? That these things aren't taking away from the experience of like visiting, like hanging out together, but it's additive. It makes people feel good. It makes people feel special, like that they actually did something. So again, for anyone listening to this, like creating non-extractive, non-violent game design event elements into your event is like, that is peak. That's what you want to do. That's what we all encourage. Please don't like, and when I say extractive, I don't mean like just transactional wise. I mean like extractive emotionally, physically, mentally. Like you're supposed to always be sort of in a giving nature, like give people things, bring people in, don't like push them away by doing things that are harmful. And like I think when people are getting together in person, it's a lot easier to lose that idea of like, what I'm asking someone to do is, even in the smallest way, like transactional or extractive. Like asking someone to buy another person a coffee in exchange for points in your ecosystem is not okay to me. I don't think so. Because that's points that someone might not get because they can't afford to give somebody a coffee or whatever, right? So it's just those little things to really consider.
Have you seen any points that kind of work in a non-extractive behavior?
Not really. I mean, there's some games, right? There's some games. I think POAPs are good for that, or like Jamie was saying, the attestations. Those are sort of pseudo point systems where you're like, people can see that you've collected things. I don't know, but it's really hard. It's really something that you actually have to think about rather than just going to a website and clicking on a couple buttons and saying, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, I think
the
like
other thing about, oh, sorry again. If I cut you off, Legs, I was just going to quickly say Chicago had a really great point that none of us are being paid to organize these specific events we're talking about right now. Like, we're really just so community driven and just care about bringing people together and having fun. Whereas maybe this is advice for, I don't know, like any project or something that's doing events that does have that barrier or extractiveness that you talked about, I think, with Bunny in the last session you had, Riley, around like, oh, I was meeting this company, but it took so long to sign up to use this thing or to get that coffee, or something I think of. I don't know if anyone has family members or have the whole like, oh, get on this phone call to get like a discount on a vacation, or in Vegas they warn you, don't talk to these people who are trying to sign you up for like timeshares, and that's very extractive. But I really go back to just the main point that right now, like the events we're talking about specifically are around just very like community driven. We want to bring people together and try and start some kind of local movement. So that could be the distinguishing thing here as well.
I definitely went on a timeshare vacation one time and it was terrible.
Because they took up so much of your time?
Yeah.
I was going to say, I went on one and you got to learn very little eye contact and you say no. They asked if I traveled and I said, I don't really travel. And they were like, well, you're on that. And I was like, I know, because this was discounted. I do not travel. I do not spend time in hotels. I just stay at home. And I didn't even have to do the tour. 40 minutes and I was out.
Not bad, Chicago. That's that's next level.
I feel like timeshares are kind of fractionalized real estate, which I feel like the ecosystem would actually be a fan of.
Yeah, real world assets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Crypto is very suited for the absolute most extractive elements of our society. So yeah, it's something that we definitely have to all think about together as we are interacting with these apps and programs and protocols and chains and whatnot. But I'm
Right. You're right.
Yeah.
And if you find the right people, you don't have to think about it, right? Because like,
oh
you
yeah,
just-
I hardly ever think about those things. Yeah. So hopefully we don't have to be inundated with that too much, and we can actually do better for people. But it was so nice to chat with you all today and learn about what you're doing across the world. I'm so glad.
Thank you for having
Thanks
me.
for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that chat.
Yeah,
At least
thank you
now
so much.
when I'm in these cities, I know who to go to, and anyone listening does as well.
Yes,
if you're coming
please
to
come
Toronto-
to London.
Just let me know. Just DM me or just like ping me publicly on Farcaster. I'll make time for you.
Yeah, we'll tell you where the good spots are.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Thank you all so much. This has been The State of People.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.